All right, is it picking up sound? I think it is. Okay. We are going to look at questions off worksheet 8, and then we're going to work on worksheet 9. Let's see, worksheet 8. Somebody asked about 13, is that right? Yep. Okay. It doesn't say whether to use a particular year. Can we use maybe years since 1990, just then we don't have to type such big numbers in? Okay. So if we use years since 1990, we actually have to put in 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 18, right? For list 1. Okay, and then these for list 2, because these are going to be our X's and these are going to be our Y's. Everybody with me here? Okay, so I'm going to pull up my calculator. How do I get to the list? Stat, enter. All right, does everybody still have a list 1 and list 2? And remember how to go up and do clear, enter to clear anything that's in there? Is anybody missing a list 1 or 2? Okay, so type those in real fast, or as fast as you can. I'm not fast at all. Should I go to 18, guys? Did I do it right? Okay. And then I'm going to go over here. Really? It hates me. Okay, did everybody beat me? And mine's wrong. What was that one supposed to be, 28? Okay, I'll get there eventually. What do we do next to find the equation? We could look at the graph, but that's not on the test. You don't have to be able to look at the graph. If you want me to remind you how we looked at the graph, we turned the stat plot on, second y equals. We made it sure it was on and said list 1 and list 2. And then we were lazy and just did a zoom 9 to set an appropriate window. Okay, but you don't have to be able to do that. You don't have to look at the data at all. You do have to come up with the model or the equation. How are we going to do that? Somebody remind me the buttons. Stat is right, then right arrow down to number 4. And because it isn't asking us anything about the graph or how well the line hits the points, it's okay to just hit enter until you've calculated the equation. You don't need to store it. Okay. So I'm going to record the equation as, I'm just going to use y and x for my variables, but we have y equals 0.476, or you could round to 0.48, I don't care. X plus 20.75 maybe. Did anyone else get that equation, or do I have something typed in wrong? Does it match in yours? Yeah. Okay, just making sure. This question doesn't ask about correlation coefficient, but it is on the test. So does somebody remember, what would you tell me the correlation coefficient is for this? Yeah, the R, 0.994, okay? Everybody good with that? All right, go ahead, yeah.
I didn't get the R's for some reason.
Okay, you have to turn your diagnostics back on. If you have an 84, just go to mode and scroll down and it says stat diagnostics, okay? By the way, X was years since 1990 and Y is percent of graduates. Now, for the second part of the question, it says determine if the trend appears linear. Oh, well, it had an R value, right? Or we looked at the graph, either one, so yes, it's linear. If so, and the trend continues, in what year will the percentage reach? Now, this is what messed me up. I'm so used to saying 35% is 0.35. But look at their percents. Did we enter them as decimals? We entered the actual percent. So when we go to solve this 35%, we need to put it in as 35, but where? It's Y. So we need to solve 35 equals 0.476x plus 20.75. If you solve that, what are you still going to have to do to find the actual year? Anybody know what we're going to need to do after we solve that? Yes. Perfect. So that will be the year that it should hit 35% or exceed. Just set it anywhere. Thank you so much. And that's okay. I'm sorry that you had to do that. How we doing? Everybody can do this on the test tomorrow? And if it had said, what about year, I don't know, 1995? What would you do? What do you predict? Just put the 5 in for the X, right? And tell me what you got for the Y. Now, if you want to use the table, then you have to store the equation, okay? But you don't need to use the table, you can just type it in. Do you want me to go over storing the equation one more time, or are you all right? Nobody's saying anything, so I'm going on. Okay. Was there anything else? Did we review that concept enough? Right, then I'm going to move on to worksheet 9, if that's okay. Worksheet 9. Okay, make sure you know how to do everything that was in this whole unit. In other words, on worksheet 1 through 9. Don't just look at this review worksheet 9 and say, okay, I know how to do everything on this worksheet, I'm good. Because the review worksheet doesn't have any linear modeling like we just did, and it also doesn't have the application problems like worksheet 6. Now, I know you handed worksheet 6 in today, but you have the notes still on worksheet 5 if you want to look those over and practice tonight, okay? You're also welcome to come in tomorrow morning if you want your homework check back, or you have questions, or you want to review with me for the test. Okay, I will have those graded and you can have them back in the morning if you'd rather see that. I'm just a little leery because I think some people, I graded the ones from second period and some of them weren't very good, and I'm thinking, they think they did fine on this homework and now they're going to take the test tomorrow. So I should have put the test off a day or something, but I'm not going to change it now because second period already thinks they have it tomorrow. All right, so if you want to get your homework check back first thing in the morning because you want to make sure you did it right, stop in. All right, I am moving on. Do you want me to just kind of fly through these, and or would you rather just do some of them together, or what do you want to do? Okay. This worksheet's on the next homework check. We're going to do most of it together right now, so let's get it done. How would we figure out the slope here? Okay, if we subtract the 9x over to the other side, really, do we know the slope right now almost?
Yeah.
We don't even need to simplify all this mess. What's the slope? Yeah, this reduces to a -3, so the slope which you really don't have to label. Just write -3 on that blank. Okay? Any questions on that? Most of you are already on to this one. What are we going to do here? We need to find the slope of EF and GH. Now, remember, slope is change in y over change in x, so make sure you're using your y's for the numerator. Anybody get EF? I got -3/5 or 3 over -5, same thing, okay? And then GH, we need to do the same thing again. Amanda, do you have that one? No, not yet?
That one's good.
I think you're right, because I got this and it would become positive, right? Perfect. You probably did a different order and it came out positive from the beginning. Doesn't matter. Should be positive 5/3. So what do you think, guys? Choice?
A.
A, perpendicular? Because the slope's flipped over and changed sign. Elliot, any questions on that? Are you okay with that part about perpendicular slopes? Mean they flipped over and changed sign?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just kind of checking in with you because you weren't here when we went through it the first time. I don't know what I just did. Trying to go. There we go. Undefined slope. Any ideas? Okay, Hofbauer can't draw a straight line, but if we were at -2, 9 over here, what does undefined slope mean? Courtney, do you remember? Yes, it's a vertical line. Doesn't anybody remember what kind of equation it has then? It has x equals, because remember it crosses the x-axis at, where's it going to cross the x-axis? -2. So it is choice A. So what do you think about number 4 then? Slope 0 is a horizontal line. So this one would cross where? At y equals, and the y value is that guy back there. We all good? Those aren't both on the quiz, but one of those is on the quiz tomorrow, okay? Depending if you have version A or B of the quiz. Okay, perpendicular to, who can start me off? First, we need to find the slope of this line. I'm dividing everything by -4. Get something disgusting like that, but all I need is the slope, right? Be careful. Isn't the slope of this one 5? So what's the perpendicular slope? We okay? We don't need this ugly number back here at all. It was the y-intercept of that line. Now, generally when we have left a point and a slope for our new line, we could use point slope. So we could put in from here the values for y1 and x1. Okay, we could also have done y equals mx plus b form. So we could have put the -1 in, the -1/5 in, the positive, or I'm sorry, the 0 from the ordered pair, and found b. Did anybody realize right away what the answer was? Yeah, this was just given, wasn't it? Isn't 0, -1? Did somebody recognize right away that this is the intercept? Okay, So if that's b, and our new slope is negative 1/5, our equation should just be negative 1/5 x plus negative 1 or minus 1. Just because I'm worried about the test, go ahead. Just because I'm worried about the test, can I put that in standard form? It doesn't ask on this question, but some of the homework checks I graded from second period had trouble with that. It has to be like this. So the x has to come before the y, no fractions, and a has to be positive. So if I add this over to the other side, I get 1/5 x plus y equals negative 1. What would I need to do to get rid of the fractions? So if I multiply everything through by a 5, I would get 1x plus 5y equals negative 5. So that's that line in standard form. It didn't ask for that, but I just want to review that in case there is one on the test that does. And I've had some issues on the homework with that. All right, moving on. Easiest question ever, but because it's multiple choice, I almost got it wrong. Anybody figure out which one it is? Slope, this is your M. Y-intercept, this is your B. I almost picked D. They flipped the X and the Y. Everything else was in the right spot. It is A. So I was keying the test for the next unit this morning, and I did the same thing. I think you've picked the right choice right away, and read through all the choices and make sure that there's not something silly, okay? The choices are very close together often. Okay, solving equation. You cannot give me a decimal answer, okay? I want an exact answer. Even if the decimal is exact, I would prefer you gave me a fraction. If it's exact decimal, then I probably will wimp out and not take off much of anything. But what do we do to get rid of the fractions? Remember? Least common denominator, which in this case is 35. So if you have a calculator, just type 35 times 8 divided by 7. And I'm thinking you get 40, and that one has an n. And then type 35 times negative 8 divided by 5, or just 8 divided by 5, and then put in your minus sign. And I'm thinking that one's 56. Don't lose your n, though. I almost lost that n there. Then over here, 35 times 22 divided by 35 is just 22. And was there a negative? Yeah, I covered up that negative. All right, so combining like terms, dividing, and something some people forgot on their homework, reducing. Did someone else get 11/8 or did I? Okay, we're good? Because nothing like recording a lesson for YouTube and leaving wrong answers on there. It's my favorite. So tell me if I do something wrong. Okay, try this one on your own. Distribute first. I know it's not, these are just ginormous numbers. I might need help. 11 times 19, 209? Thank you. Remember, you multiply the top and the bottom. Someone asked me about cross multiplying earlier today. Are we cross multiplying anything here? When do you cross multiply? Nope. Has nothing to do with a different operation. It has to do an equal in the middle. Yes, like there's a proportion. Okay, it has to be an equal. If you're multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting, if you're dividing, you do flip one over. But as far as cross multiplying, no. Let's see, 11 times 13, 143, I think. Okay, common denominator 24. Does that seem all right with everybody? We might have been able to reduce, but I don't think it's worth my effort to try to reduce anything here. I'm not going to try to reduce that by hand. That's what I have my handy dandy calculator for, because I'm thinking by the time I start reducing common factors, 2508 divided by 418 actually comes out even, I think, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Even if it didn't, you guys all know the trick about math enter to leave it as a reduced fraction. Okay, moving on. Phew. 9 and 10 are the same, so I'm going to do one of them for you. Is 10 have different numbers? Yeah, no, I'm going to do 9. Okay. Who remembers something about distance?
X minus x squared plus y. Yeah, y plus or minus y squared.
It's just awful, right? Does anybody remember kind of how I described it? So we didn't have to think about that quite so hard? Yeah, I did Pythagorean theorem, remember? So the difference in the x's, how far apart are 4 and 1? And how far apart are -2 and +4? Okay. So then I just thought of it as a Pythagorean theorem question. And I would probably take square root of 45. It is 3 square roots of 5, 6.7. Thank you. If you wanted to do a decimal. If you did it this way, you would have had 1 minus 4, which when you squared it should have still been 9. And this one was 4 minus -2, which when you squared it should have still been 36. So same answer. Everybody good? All right, what about midpoint? What do you remember for midpoint? One word. Average. Average the x's, average the y's. So if I had to write the stupid formula down, I'd write something like this. Okay, but, and it's all an ordered pair answer. Add the x's, add the y's, divide by 2. Anybody get an answer? 5 halves or 2.5 is okay. And 1? Everybody can find midpoint tomorrow? Nobody's going to get that one wrong? Okay, to do part D, we have to find the slope anyway. So part C says slope. Remember, slope is change in y over change in x. So 4 minus -2 over 1 minus 4. Anybody getting -2 for the slope? Or did I go too fast? We're okay? Now what? For part D, we need the equation of the line. Anybody preference point slope or slope intercept to start with? If I use 1, 4 and this slope, I heard somebody say slope intercept, so you would plug everything into here to find B, right? The y value of the point I picked was 4, the slope was -2, the x value of the point I chose was 1. So this is a -2. If I add it over here, I get B equals 6. You know what a whole bunch of people did on their homework checks? They just went y equals -2x plus, and then they picked one of these y values or something, -2 or 4, and stuck it at the back. Okay? You can't just randomly pick. You have to solve for the actual intercept. Just to humor you or humor me, I am going to write, let's see if I choose that one, if it comes out orange. I'll do it in point slope. If I did y minus the y value equals the slope x minus the 1, it would still come out y equals -2x plus 6. Everybody okay? point slope or the y-intercept. All right. I'm going to skip 10 then. Are you all right with that? You guys can do that for practice tonight. What time are we done? 45? Okay. I just want to make sure I have time to do a couple exponent reviews. So parallel means I do what? Keep the slope the same. So the parallel slope is still negative 5/3. So is the answer y equals negative 5/3 x minus 2? No. See, somebody keeps just picking this number and throwing it in there. For it to go through that point, you have to use one of those two methods that we've demonstrated. Y minus negative 2 equals negative 5/3 x minus 3. You could do that, putting that point into slope-intercept form. Or you could go with negative 2 equals negative 5/3 times 3, the x plus b. All right, simplify one of those and see what you get. Final answer in slope-intercept form, are we okay? Anybody stuck? I have negative 5/3 x plus 3. We're all good? Do I need to practice a standard form one again, or are you okay? Yes. Did I do something wrong?
It's supposed to be parallel, so isn't the slope to the floor?
Parallel?
Oh. Like,
Stay the same. Yep,
okay.
you did perpendicular.
Yeah, but
I do the same thing. I get myself all used to doing perpendicular, but just remember parallel means they're doing the same thing, so they keep the same slope. It's all right. Everybody good then? All right, can you try this one? This one is perpendicular, so we need to flip it over and change the sign. How did I do, guys? Anybody else get an intercept of +1? If you did it that way, I think you still get B is 1, so then you'd plug it all in there. Either way. All right, is that it? Or is there, that's it, right? Okay. Do you need me to make up an application problem? Are you going to be okay looking over worksheet 5 for application? Nobody? All right, I can't think of anything else that we need to go over for the test. What about that pink worksheet that I just gave you? Somebody want to just pick a couple random problems and we'll do a couple together to review exponent rules? I'm going to write my hint on here for you. This whole negative exponent thing tends to confuse students. This is my silly phrase. Actually, I think it was probably Miss Adams' phrase first. Cross the line, change the sign. When you want to get rid of that negative exponent and make it into a positive exponent, it means it needs to move across the fraction bar. Cross the line, change the sign. All right, pick a problem, any problem. Number 4. Okay, cross the line, change the sign means something needs to, these need to move to the denominator to become positive exponents. The trick everyone gets wrong is what? Anybody? Does this 2 go down there? No. Okay. This 2 is not attached to this m to the negative 2, right? It's multiplied separately, so while these need to move to the denominator, the 2 does not. So I have on top, you could have simplified this as you went, but and then we just moved 2 m's and 3 n's down there. Okay? Now, can I just talk about this little piece for 1 second? m2n4 squared means m2n4 times another m2n4. When you get confused about these crazy rules, do this. Think about what it means. Isn't that what that means? So how many m's did I end up with? And how many n's? 8. Okay? So what do I have on the top right now? 4n squared. And on the bottom, this whole mess became m to the 4th, n to the 8th. Now there's some more m's over here. If I wrote them all out, how many m's would I have? 6. And 8 n's and 3 more would make 11 n's. Then what? If I wrote it all out, please don't make me write out 11 n's. 2 of these would divide out 2 of those, so there'd be left 9. Or you could subtract. 2 minus 11 is negative 9, which tells you it belongs in the denominator to make it a positive 9. Okay? So I have 4 over m to the 6th, n to the 9th. One more? Somebody pick one more. Let's do one more for the video for the guys who are playing golf.
13.
Guys and girls who are playing golf. 13?
Yeah, 13.
No, 15.
Is there a 15?
Yeah.
It goes up to 15.
I don't have a 15. I'm going to have to do 13. Apparently I didn't take pictures of all of them on the sheet.
Does that mean we take 15 off the
No.
Oh.
I'll put them on later and I can go back and do them for you, but do you want, just let me tell you the first step on what's the first step back here on, oh, let's try that one. This one with a negative 3 out here. Yeah, the negative on the whole thing flips the whole thing over. Do you remember that? So you would have still everything in here stays the same, which we can do some simplifying. But when you flip the whole thing over, it still has it to the 3rd out here. Now, the order you do this in doesn't matter. Do you want to simplify inside first? Or do you want to cube everything, or what do you want to do? You want to cube everything first? Okay, if you cube everything first, this would become an x to the negative 6th, because you're multiplying exponents, y to the 12th, a 2 to the 3rd, an x to the 0. Down here, you'd have a 2 to the 3rd and a y to the 6th. I would have simplified first. The 2 to the 3rd divided by 2 to the 3rd, gone. X to the 0, it's just 1, so multiplies, okay? These 6 x's, or y's, I'm sorry, are going to cancel 6 of these. So we have left a y to the 6th up there. But what about this guy? So that's what I got. Did anybody else work on that one and get that? Is that what you had?
Yep.
Did you want me to do another one, or you got it?
Is that homework?
8. It's on the next homework check, yes. The pink sheet is on the next homework check. The biggest thing for you to work on tonight is making sure you're ready for the test, okay? But other than that, make sure you've done 8 and 9, okay? We did 9 today, but make sure you've done 8. And then if you have time, work on the pink. What?
Do that to me this often.
Why? What?
I like it.
It's just quick review. Do you need me to go over this one, guys? I'd switch these next. And then simplify the top, simplify the bottom, and then decide if anything cancels. I don't know if I can read my own writing. I think all those cancel. I don't know if I did that right or not. It's entirely possible that I didn't, because I was going fast and I can't read my own handwriting.